Good evening, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to this edition of the Primetime Newscast, the English language on Canal the International. I'm called Maureen. We'll begin with our top stories. Search for more victims of the collapsed building behind Mobi Guinness in Douala continues, with families still reclaiming corpses of loved ones still trapped on the ground. Official figures takes us.
This is Pekka Wheat in Douala.
So far, and 21 persons injured. Since a Saturday evening, the population at the Nguso neighborhood in Yaoundé are still in shock as how a 69-year-old man who was dirt and buried some 3 months ago returned home. Those are major stories. Details right ahead. Good evening once more. The search for more victims of the collapsed building around Mobi Guinness in Cameroon's economic city Douala continues, with families still reclaiming corpses of loved ones still trapped on the ground. The official figure stands at 33.
Due to of the government to these families.
At the site, family members of the victims continue to defy security belts, demanding for their corpses. It is the case of this woman.
I have my 3 brothers who are there. So right now we don't know whether they are still alive or not. Because leaving yesterday, it was like since they are at the first floor, it seems as if those at the first floor, they are still alive. So right now we don't know their situation because we have not yet seen the dead bodies.
The other lady can't stop crying. All she demands is the corpses of her family members. She tells me none of her relatives is among the 33 corpses. She believes they could still save, or better still, take out the remains from the rubbles.
À 18h moins, il y a un monsieur qui a appelé à l'appel vidéo son frère à côté de moi.
This man was one of the tenants. He was out for a birthday party, but he spoke with the wife at 11 p.m. At 1 p.m., he received a phone call that the building had collapsed.
So I'm sure that they can still meet people because we have about 2 people up there that are still reclaiming 3 persons that they even spoke on telephone, but after the call it's not going. So that's why I try to explain there, because I've been living there for more than 10 years.
Most of the relatives of the victims told me even after the building collapsed, they continued to exchange on phones with their relatives trapped on the ground, begging for rescue. One showed me a video of a phone exchange where the victim talked of gradually losing his breath. The video was dark, an indication he was completely trapped.
And the building that collapsed and claimed the lives of over 33 persons has jolted the Minister of Housing and Urban Development out of a shelf. Cliquez, blaming administrative authorities for condoning and abetting the hazardous constructions of buildings that has been a major cause of dearth in the nation's economic capital, Douala. She takes exception to the fact that many buildings are constructed with no respect for urban norms and other technical rules, going by how only few people follow the due process to obtain a license or to obtain a building permits in Douala. According to statistics, only 10% of 1,000 or 1 million buildings constructed in Douala can boast of genuine building permits. The problem is crucial. The Minister of Urban Housing and Development cries out. And the recent collapse of buildings in Douala, Cameroon, have left many wondering whether they are in safe harbors or not. Gladys Ambo-Debang sought to know from some civil engineers the reasons for the recurrent collapse of houses in Douala. Her story.
A majority of buildings, especially multi-story structures, don't just collapse without warning signs. Large cracks on the walls, creaking sounds, collapsed ceilings and mold or water stains on the walls, weak supporting structures and foundation shifts are signs that should send tenants packing without second thoughts. All these are caused by either soil with less bearing capacities, foundation failures, and faulty construction methodology, which are just parts of the reasons for the collapse of buildings.
The first reason is foundation design. If the foundation design is inadequate and it was not properly designed, the building could collapse because of inadequate design of foundation. If those building materials were not properly selected and if they were not built according to the norms of construction, the building can collapse.
According to the civil engineer, economist, and author of the book City Streets in Cameroon, Guide to Street and Management, poor quality control, poor compliance with specifications, and inadequate respect of construction norms greatly contribute to the recurrent catastrophes.
Construction norms are given by the Society of Engineers, and they contain how buildings should be built. If those norms were not respected, it could cause the collapse of buildings.
Anyone who wishes to construct a house must ensure he or she respects construction norms, and by so doing must obtain a building permit first. It's unfortunate that some will obtain a permit to construct just one-story building, but will go ahead and increase the number of floors, forgetting the risks he is taking. Normally, this increases the load on the foundation and it might collapse. Apart from natural disasters, all other causes that could provoke the collapse of a building could be prevented.
The only way to prevent this phenomenon from going on and being recurrent is to make sure, one, that buildings are designed by architects, two, that the supervision of the buildings is done by qualified engineers, and three, that the building norms are respected at all times.
The recent incidents in Douala, Cameroon, that have left more than 30 deaths will certainly force many future landlords into seeking help from structural architects and engineers in their quest for the respect of construction norms.
Another building also collapsed in the city of Douala. This time around, it was on a Saturday morning, but no human casualty was involved. This time it happens at the Panda Safari Mall. In the following story.
These two brothers and their elder sister narrowly escaped death after their one-floor story collapsed in the early hours of Saturday.
It was actually on Saturday morning, breaking Saturday around 5 o'clock. With the serious rain, we got up, we saw some changes. We thought maybe it was just a minor issue why the house was shaking. By 6 o'clock, 6:30, we went out to see what's happening. So with the time that we're out observing the house at about 7:45, it was gradually going down, so the house collapsed at that time.
They told me the torrential rainfall on Saturday provoked the building to collapse. We are at the Bepanda Safari, Senkankat Escalier neighborhood in Douala, described as a prone flood area.
Only the serious rain that actually fell for consecutive 2 days could be a cost to that event, because as water is coming down here with some force, or the running water maybe is what actually caused the ground to lose and then everything went down.
The building, according to them, was constructed over 20 years ago and had never showed signs of any collapse.
We never had any sign. We have lost everything. As people can see, they lost everything. And we are now homeless.
No human life was lost, but material damage have been estimated to be enormous. Being the only occupants of the family residence for close to 10 years now, the victims say they are now homeless and stranded. They will have to start life afresh.
Since Saturday, the population of Nguso in the nation's political capital, Yaoundé, are still in shock as how a 69-year-old man who was dirt and buried some 3 months ago returned back home. It is curiosity that took Canal, the international team, to his home, where the widow, like other family members, were found in total celebration. Bridges and Gamo with the rest of that story.
Here we are at the Sainte-Chapelle at the Nguso neighborhood in Yaoundé Saturday night. Inside this family home are many who came to see and confirm for themselves that it is the supposed Reverend 68-year-old Lucas Ndomo Isumba. He died last April 16 at the Yaoundé Jamo Hospital. Here is the death declaration signed by the 18th District Police Station in Yaoundé. Then the death certificate signed last July the 7th by the Yaoundé 5 Council. The banner announcing his death still in place here at Nguso. The picture roll also there. His mortal remain was taken out of the Yaoundé General Hospital mortuary last May 26 and burial the very next day after a highly animated week. We danced around the corpse. The coffin remained open. It was not closed. It was really him, I swear to God in heaven. He was buried here. The heap of earth of the grave still visible. Unfortunately, there were no pictures nor video from the family members we met on the wake keep and burial. We were made to understand that the children in Douala are having them. It is while the family is preparing for his funeral, after many change of dates, that Lucas Ndomo Isumba resurfaces from nowhere, Saturday, July 22nd, almost 2 months after his burial. He arrived the family home alone at 5 p.m. I was bathing and heading up. The wife of Ndomo. I asked what is it. I was told Ndomo outside. Which Ndomo? Ndomo are buried already. According to family source, the presumed dead man alive is mentally unstable. Was even a member of the Village of Love at the Yaoundé Jamo Hospital before his death. Seeking to know where he's coming from, we confirm what the family said.
Vous venez de voir tout à l'heure là comment j'ai posé la question. Et que ma question n'est pas répondue, et que c'est la question simple.
In such a situation, all eyes are towards exhuming of the corpse to clarify many unanswered questions as to the supposed apparition of 68-year-old Lucas Ndomo Isumba.
And for some time now, the city of Yaoundé, Douala, has been filled with garbage here and there in large quantity. They are visible everywhere in markets, supermarkets, houses, and even in schools. Inhabitants, passerby, and even traders have no choice than to deal with the smell. Municipal authorities have called on the population to respect the rules of hygiene and sanitation. It's sudden we cannot have the story. We've come to the end of this edition of the Primetime Newscast in the English language. Thanks so much for watching. Good night.